Now, I'm honored to introduce Mamadou Kivijim Toure, who is known for his deep knowledge and experience in the field, to make his presentation titled as Finance Technologies. Mr. Toure, we're prepared to hear your insightful sharings. The stage is yours. Mr. Toure, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We're prepared to hear you.
Okay, it's a pleasure and an honor to be invited to this great conference with Batman University. I would like to thank colleague and friend Errol User for thinking of Ubuntu group as a key contributor to those conversations. So I don't know if you want to do question and answer or if you want me to, or if you're gonna do translation. So.
Mr. Toure, is there a problem? Can you repeat your last sentence, please? We couldn't hear you very well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now, yes, we can.
Okay, so I was asking if you prefer, so let me introduce myself.
Yes, sure, please.
Okay, so my name is Mamadou Kivijim Toure. I'm the lead founder and CEO of Ubuntu Group. We focused on investment advisory services and, more importantly, in financial technologies, where we use blockchain, Web3, and artificial intelligence as a means to provide shared prosperity by tokenizing precious metals and other real-world assets. And the whole idea behind the principle of tokenizing is to be able to fractionalize an asset that could hitherto been inaccessible and tokenize it in small parts. So think, for instance, today 1 kilo of gold is close to $100,000. Not everyone can afford $100,000. But by tokenizing, you can fractionalize that 1 kilo in 1 million pieces of 1 milligram that you would then address an equivalent value. So what we've done, we launched GIFT, Gold International Fungible Token, which is effectively equivalent to 1 milligram of gold, which is equivalent to 10 cents. So suddenly, if you couldn't before access the gold market, today you can buy 1 gift gold, which is 1 milligram, equivalent to 10 cents, and it gives everyone access to gold from the comfort of their mobile phone at any time from anywhere. And this model of tokenizing really addressed an important question beyond financial inclusion that I would call financial mobility, right? So the whole question, if you see up to now, there's been a lot of great push towards financial inclusion. I was myself investing close to 20 years ago in the first project in mobile banking, mobile money, and was also involved with M-Pesa. at the very early days. And as you know, there's been great initiatives like Grameen Fund and all the microfinance movement to make sure that the bottom of the pyramid effectively get access to finance. Now, if you look carefully, the main issue about financial inclusion is that in many cases it has sunk people into a debt trap, or failed in other cases to bring out of the poverty trap. So what we should really talk about is how do we leverage on financial technologies to effectively deliver financial mobility. What do we call financial mobility? Financial mobility is the capacity for people to, when they do have access to finance, to move up the ladder from bottom of the pyramid towards middle class, upper middle class, etc. But in order to do that, you need two important things, and you need one, collateral, and that's actually the problem that financial inclusion didn't really solve. Indeed, when you go and raise capital with a bank or with a microfinance, they would ask for guarantees, right? And as they ask for guarantees, the main issue is, okay, that we want, do you have a piece of land, do you have a car, or any asset that they can use as a guarantee in case you can't repay? And most of the time, the bottom of the pyramid doesn't have access to those type of collateral. The second issue that we need to address to get financial mobility beyond financial inclusion is linked to asymmetry of information, right? So, if you don't know about the investment space, if financial literacy is very limited, chances are that you would end up crippled with debt. And it's not just an emerging markets challenge. I mean, when you look at the United States, credit card debt is crippling American households because there's no preparation or proper financial literacy to be able to address those things. Now, today with blockchain and AI, you can effectively solve those two key challenges, right? And how do you do so? By effectively looking at solutions that under asymmetry of information, you also have this question of, I'm sitting in London. If I'm going to invest in Turkey, it's a higher risk because I don't know the environment, I don't have the data, etc. But with blockchain, you have data reliability. You have the fact that you can count on a technology that is tamper-proof and will confirm and then reduce your risk perception because you can rely on the data. And with AI, you can now also get mini trainings, personalized guidance as to getting people on board with financial literacy. With blockchain, again, when it comes to collateral, you do really have a game-changing experience because, like I explained before, now even if you don't have an apartment, you can you have services companies and technology companies like us focus on real-world asset tokenization that would break down and tokenize a $500,000 apartment in 500,000 tokens of $1 affordable to anyone to now start having a piece of asset that also rise over time. And we took the case and the example of gold earlier. Actually, gold last year alone gained 40%. Over the past 5 years, it gains more than 100%. And over the past 20 years, it gained close to 1,000%, right? So we're talking about assets that hitherto were not accessible to people, and in the context of also local currencies depreciation, right? So your collateral may lose in value in local currency, but if you have digital assets like gold, silver, lithium that have actually outperformed hard currencies, this is a way also to hedge and to avoid erosion of purchasing purchasing power and maintain the robustness of your collateral as you raise capital in a way. Now, when you think also of financial technologies, which is what we do with Ubuntu Tribe also, is effectively when, let's say, you want to borrow and you now have tokenized gold or tokenized shares of Tesla or any of those assets or Nvidia in your wallet that have like strong potential. Now, if you need a loan, you need to grow either your business or you need working capital for a project. I don't need to know you. And I don't even need to be in Turkey or in your city. You can be anywhere in the world. What you would do with those tokenized assets would be to put it on a platform, on a wallet that would lock your assets, and then I would lend on a loan to value against the value of your assets. And it could range from 20, 30 to 60, 70% on as a loan to value to those assets. So that's where it becomes very, very interesting. In order, especially for rising economies, to be able to automate a lending process without you having a credit score, because it's asset-backed finance that could effectively help you expand your activities and your business in that conditions. So ultimately also what is important to understand when we talk about real-world asset tokenization, people tend to say, oh, crypto is risky, there's a lot of scam, there's been this crisis and so on. The reality is that it's not specific to the crypto industry, right? As you know, in the financial, traditional finance sector, we've had a crisis roughly every 10, 20 years, 2008, 1998, also in the 80s. So that's also typical of the industry. It's not specific to the crypto space. And also when people talk about scams and things like that, if you look at Madoff case in the US, it's not really, again, it's something that do happen, and indeed there are risks in the finance industry that shouldn't kind of point necessarily fingers on a particular rising and early stage industry that is still working on finding its marks. So when you look at that, so for instance, think of the dot-com bubble, and I think I mentioned that in the past in another audience, right? All the internet companies in 1999, 2000, literally most of them crashed, right? Because there was a bubble, the business model wasn't clear, there were a lot of issues, right? And it collapsed the whole stock market. But would you say at that time that, let's not go into internet because it's risky, because there are scams and things like that? No, internet was here to stay as the underlying technology of the future. And we're in this very similar situation now with Web3, with blockchain, is the future of finance. And yes, as at infant stage of those type of industries, there are a lot of adjustments that happen, but you can't throw the baby with the bathwater, because ultimately when you look at BlackRock, launching Bitcoin ETFs, or Franklin Templeton and a lot of those industries moving forward, you realize that you rather join the bandwagon if you don't want to be left behind. And I salute Batman University for really taking this topic seriously and effectively bringing this caliber of speaker to effectively engage on this very important topic. Now, let's look at the future. Let's look at the forecast and the industry itself. Real-world asset asset tokenization is expected to reach a staggering $20 trillion by 2030, which means in 5 years. So, and you can see the regulation is being more flexible now, and various avenues, with the SEC in the United States providing a greater clarity and so on. So we believe the financial technologies Web3 based are definitely going to be effectively game-changing in the international scene. Now, what also we would like to talk about here is how to get involved, right? How to seize these growing opportunities that's coming along. Now, you do have platforms, who allow people to tokenize themselves, their real-world assets, to build their own tokenomics. And for students, especially in the computer science space, the combination of blockchain and AI has certainly great potential in the future. And why both actually need to be combined? And yes, there's this big crave about AI and about the urgency and importance to adopt it, etc. But let's go back to what is artificial intelligence in this case when it comes to the financial sector, right? Artificial intelligence is based on 4 things, right? The underlying data that it computes in order to either do forecasts or make recommendations or streamline information in a format that the user wants to effectively use. It also relies, of course, on the algorithm, right, that effectively orientate or select the information to package it in a particular way. And then the third thing is computing power, right? It is the capacity, and that's the point of large language model, where you effectively collect a series of large data and need to be able to compute them. And that's where the chips like the NVIDIA A200, A100 comes into play, the capacity to really compute a significant amount of data and present it to the user. And the last one is energy, which is a critical one, because in order to be able to compute that significant amount of energy, and it is anticipated, I think Eric Schmidt was saying, AI would consume 99% of the electricity that is actually available today, which leads, of course, to a very important question for a debate for another day. But I want to come back to data, right? Data is the one thing that can take your results in one direction or another if they are not accurate, if they are not comprehensive, right? And that's where blockchain also comes into play, because if you input the wrong data, your financial forecast, you can have the best algorithm, the best computing power, all the energy you want. Your financial forecast will take you in the wrong direction. And how do you effectively ensure that those data source is actually correct? And that's also where blockchain comes into play, and that's also where citizens, partners, investors have a say, because you have all the question of data sovereignty and data contribution and data remuneration and so on, which is where also it kind of takes you to the fact that data is the next gold, and therefore you're going to have your data on chain as a revenue generator. I don't know what's going on. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello? We can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I don't know, something popped on my screen.
No problem.
So I think when you look at where the industry is going and where you can use financial technology, and let's think of this question of data and AI, right? Now, you sit in Batman University, you have the greatest project on earth, right? And you need to mobilize venture capital. Now, the issue you have is that you're not in the Silicon Valley, you don't live close to Elon Musk, but you have the greatest project that people may never hear about. And on top of it, you're very far. What gives comfort that if they deploy capital, your project is going to succeed? And that's why also when you use financial technology and the importance of data becomes critical for what I call decentralized finance. Ultimately, the whole rationale is to say, okay, I'm doing my PhD at Batman University. I have this great project. Okay, you don't know me, you may not trust me, but I'm going to put all my reporting on chain. One, that would give you comfort of my real-time performance as an entrepreneur. One. Second, I'm going to bring a group and a community within my circles who know me and trust me to be the first layer of investor, and they will invest on chain and invest in token, equity token, or convertible token into my business, right? And therefore they constitute the first layer of trust, and will also put smart contract that will force me as an entrepreneur to reach certain milestones and targets in order for the next tranche of capital to be disbursed. And as I do that, because it's community and it's decentralized finance, if my first layer community is happy about my performance, then they also become my agents to go through the community, through the university, to find other small investors to put $100, $50, $500. But think of this, if you have 3,000 people around those communities who put literally $1,000, guess what? You have $3 million that is on-chain, that is powered by smart contract based on milestones of what you achieve, and all of them receive ultimately reporting on-chain because all your performance, commercial, financial, operational, is actually on a dashboard and it's reliable because it's on-chain. Now you have a new model of decentralized finance when the next step would be anyone around the world love what you're doing, want to fund it. It's a crowdfunding with more reliability, predictability, and scalability around it. And that's the power using financial technologies to effectively lead to a new paradigm shift that creates a level playing field for people, for any entrepreneur around the world to potentially reach massive success. So I'll pause here to see if there's any question.
Okay, any question? I guess nobody wants to ask any question to you. Thank you for your speech. It was an outstanding speech. Your expertise on the subject was truly enlightening and engaging. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Torre.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I look forward to the recording, and I'll step in and out to see also the rest of the conference. So congratulations for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I can tell you as a student, I always value and salute this because I was very active as a student to raise awareness on key topics and build new organization and putting conferences together, and I know how hard it is, and I can see all the amount of effort you put into that, and the minimum we can do is to support you the best we can. So congratulations, and keep rising and inspiring your peers all the way there in Batman and around the world.
Okay, we are happy, we are lucky to have you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. sonraki konuşmacımızın bağlanmasını bekliyoruz. Distinguished speaker is Mr. Maximilian Reng. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Reng to share his insights on Web3 technologies. Mr. Reng, thank you for joining us and inspiring us with your presence. Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Hello.
we're prepared to hear your insightful speech. The stage is yours.
So I want to thank everyone for making this possible, that I can speak here. It's a great honor. I have about 14 years experience in blockchain, and I want to make this light and anecdotal so you can be part of this journey that I had over the last years. I will draw the history of blockchain and the potential that it unfolded over the last years, so you can continue to draw this line into the future to discover the opportunities that lie ahead and can continue building like a world that incorporates the sovereignty, the digital sovereignty that blockchain promises. Because decentralization is a wonderful thing, and we can all already realize that now with the impact of Bitcoin and many beautiful technologies that are helping people worldwide to become independent, allow them to transact and exchange goods without middlemen. So if you have questions, please raise your arm. I don't know how it's technically possible. Maybe someone will come with a microphone, but questions are super welcome. I can also leave time for questions at the end.
All right, maybe later after the presentation we can give some time if they have any questions. It will be better if you want. Thank you.
Okay, so I will start with a question to you. So what is the first big blockchain?
Okay.
Probably a lot of people will say it's Bitcoin. Blockchain technology was around before Bitcoin for a while, and there was actually an institutional, like a governmental development, because the government of Estonia started in 2008 with the development of their blockchain for government services, so to become more resilient against cyber attacks. And we have a history of blockchain that goes back. What Bitcoin did is it combined blockchain with proof of work. And there are many mysteries of how this happened. And across my years of networking and knowing the scene, I came across of one possible explanation how Bitcoin was created that I want to share with you because I think it's interesting. And that is in the split second moment in 2009 there was a big financial crisis, maybe like everyone looked like it would go down like in a huge real estate crisis, and financial markets could have stopped working. Maybe someone sat like in this war room, you know, this council of people, and they decide, okay, what do we do if really like we cannot transact value? Well, we have these technologies on the shelf, we have blockchain, we have proof of work. Let's bring them together and create this thing called called, we call it Bitcoin, but it can be used to transact value in case everything else fails. And I like this theory, and I came across Bitcoin in 2011, and it was still very, very early. I had to buy my Bitcoins by finding someone in a forum that had very good reviews, and then I wrote him a message, and he said, you go to the gas station and you buy these vouchers and you send me the codes from the vouchers. And then I had to run a Bitcoin full node, which took about half a day to sync, and then he could send me my first Bitcoins. And at that moment, before I bought those, I was imagining what this technology could do. Like, after I understood the disruptive potential, I was thinking, okay, first, a lot of the incumbents, a lot of the status quo will try to fight Bitcoin as hard as possible, because it will just take away a lot of power and financial capabilities from existing systems, and that's what we see what has happened. Over those many years, we have seen a lot of media campaigns against Bitcoin, and well, that all like didn't prove to be true. We've seen accusations of a lot of energy waste, but now Bitcoin runs on a lot of renewable energy. Yeah. So in 2014, we had another very, very big development. It's when Ethereum saw the light of day, and that expanded the capabilities of blockchain drastically. And this is one of the moments when humanity is hit with a technology and we don't really understand how powerful it is. And we know no one can really think like ahead and change his way of thinking to incorporate this technology in a way that it can be incorporated. So, and that takes years to unfold. And that's what we're seeing. And there's probably still a lot of uses out there for smart contracts that have not been thought of. And there's a lot of untapped potential in smart contracts. And but many of us, when we hear smart contracts and Ethereum, and then we think back of ICOs in 2017. That was a step in my career that led me to shift and go like full time into crypto. At that point I was doing creative direction for Audi, for a lead agency for Audi Communications, and I said, well, automotive is not going to change the world, but this Bitcoin thing, it's not going away. And one of the first things, I went to the World Economic Forum in Davos, and there was a house called Crypto House, and it was like the peak of the valuation of a lot of new coins, and it was all full with kids that suddenly had these tokens that were worth millions, and they founded projects, and they had these ideas and complicated tokenomic papers, and it was all like a big party. And I think only by a week later, like, things got down and everything reached its limitations, because everyone realized Ethereum is not going to scale. There was a thing called an application called CryptoKitties that really brought Ethereum to its limits. I remember at one point waiting for a transaction for one day, trying to do the transaction the whole day, and it failed all the time, took hours. Basically Ethereum was down, and people realized if a simple application like a game is not working, then all these hopes for big use and adoption are not justified. So that was a very sobering experience, and for the market, and that led to what you can call like the TPS race, the transactions per second. So Visa achieves about 80,000 transactions per second. So and Bitcoin far less than that. And everyone knew if the blockchain that would change the world would need to achieve like these 80,000. And then there came all these solutions, like even Ethereum, they did like a conference in 2018 here with Vitalik Buterin was there, and they talked about all the different technologies they're going to use, and until now they didn't implement any of it. But there were a lot of promising projects that proposed scaling technology. But what happened then in the market is big players, big VCs entered that game because they realized they can achieve very high valuation. When you have like a company, then the valuation is at some point justified by the amount of revenue it can make. Right, and but when you have a platform like Ethereum or Polkadot or whatever they are called, like the value is not just defined by the revenue it makes today or it might make tomorrow, but there's this fantasy that this blockchain will conquer the world and everyone will build their systems upon it. And big VCs, big investors, they saw this potential and they knew they could bring projects to this high valuation. So after this first wave of ICOs from 2017-18, and I remember that, like for the Tron ICO, like I was translating Chinese buttons, button by button, to participate there. Then came like the 2020 and after ICO craze, where there was really a game for the next big blockchain, the one that could beat Ethereum, and that race was, you could say, eventually won by Solana, or at least Solana proved that someone can challenge Ethereum in its territory, and until now it's not really clear if Ethereum makes the race or one of these other contenders. And then like the next big development was DeFi. So DeFi is really the primary application of smart contracts and blockchain nowadays. The most important, and there lies a very good example of what I said, like we don't understand the potential of blockchain yet, because in 2017 and 18 there was already a decentralized exchange on Ethereum, but it used an order book. Like now, like every centralized exchange, like stock exchanges, they use an order book. But if you use an order book on a blockchain, that means there's a lot of transactions, a lot, because for every entry in the order book, you have to make a transaction, you have to confirm it. It's super slow. You cannot do like the high frequency stuff that the market is used to, and that leads to a lot of inefficiencies and just a terrible user experience. So everyone was avoiding using this. It was not fun. And then Uniswap, they had like, and I know before Uniswap, I was thinking like, we are just very close away from solving this order book thing. Why do we need this order book? Why is everyone used to this experience? And then Uniswap solved it, and it took a couple of years until they came out with a solution. And I'm underlining this because if you are interested in blockchain, if you are listening to this, then you can acknowledge the fact that there's still like ingenious solutions out there that have not been discovered, that this space is so disruptive. that its potential is still largely untapped, and we have seen a lot of fast developments over the last years, and those fast developments, they will continue. Yeah, so in that case, like, someone solved it by just thinking, okay, this order book, let's just turn it into a black box. On the one side, the liquidity comes in from market makers, from market participants, and on the other side, the higher the liquidity, the lower the spread between the bid and ask. So, and this is actually now managed by a smart contract. So it's more efficient than what we have currently on the markets and stock exchanges and everywhere, because there we have all this potential for algorithmic trading. You have a huge race for having the fastest connection to manipulate the market better than the others. It's a terrible inefficient game, because the net gain for society from algorithmic trading is zero. Like, there's no value. There billions like go into this market, into server, digital centers, everything, but like it just leads to a different distribution, but there's no value creation in that. So if you look at it like this, Uniswap and this DeFi as we know it now, that is happening on blockchain, is a huge blessing. And it does something that blockchain is really predestined to do, and is lowering transaction cost. Lowering transaction cost. If you now wanna buy a house, real estate, like, the transaction cost is tremendous, because not only you have to find someone, like a house that you like, but then also the actual transaction, you have to go to the land registry, and that's all like very time and cost intensive. If you can transfer real estate ownership through blockchain, it goes within seconds. So the transaction cost is really cheap, and it's overall convenient. And we've seen this already now disrupting the market with DeFi, and that is the biggest disruption we will see in the next years. This is like trillions and trillions of market, like this financial market that is now running like the whole plumbing, the infrastructure of the stock market is absolutely convoluted. Like, it is something that grew over like hundreds of years. How the resolution, like, if you buy a stock nowadays, there's platforms, okay, you buy a stock, you have it, but what happens underneath is vastly complicated. So this will all be disrupted, and this is what we are seeing now, especially by the developments in the last 6 months. There is a huge shift towards institutional adoption, and I will talk more about this later. But the institutional adoption is about the tokenization of the financial markets and of real world assets, and there we will see a shift that is really huge, and this will change the world, and it's happening, and it will really be this will sprout like big opportunities in job markets and in investments alike. So, coming back to this historical journey that I'm taking you, what we've seen then in 2020 with Uniswap also revealed a big flaw. And I was just like telling how inefficient the current financial markets are, but there are some inefficiencies and some challenges with current DeFi as well, especially on Ethereum, and that's how it's owed to how the technology works, and people found a way to play the system, because blockchain it has its limitations in the block time. So when the block is constructed and you send send a transaction there, then there is the possibility to reordering those transactions in someone's favor. So, and that is being done, and that is being done since 2020, and people like they made a lot of money, and now it's becoming more and more aware. But it is all like a very, very young scene. So and it's maturing. But you see how slow people are to react. This was in 2020. There was an article called "The Ethereum is a Dark Forest." It became a very, very well-known article. It's one of the times when you have like a Medium article that everyone knows, and it retained relevance over all these years, because just last year and this year, something called sniping in DeFi became like a big topic, and only by then it really reached the light of the wider public what's possible and how you can abuse these systems. And it's just about the right time, because now when all this adoption happens, like I'm sure there will be technical solutions, and there are already technical solutions implemented that will prevent that. Any questions so far? If you have a question memorized, I will give you an opportunity at the end to ask.
Okay, to the audience, is there any question? I guess no, so far it seems everyone has understood your speech very well. Okay, great. Then I want to talk a little bit about the NFT craze, because that was another big moment for Web3, and it was really also when this Web3 term began to be used widely. And then that's when people start paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for virtual pictures that were registered on a blockchain that would guarantee them ownership. And I would say it was like a big experiment for the world, like how much value do we give really to digital goods. And I would say it surprised everyone. And this was all a big exaggeration, let's say. And there's very few companies that emerged from that time that survived. And one of them is called Animoca Brands. I invite you to look at their history, because it's a brilliant example of how you can use a certain trend to grow very fast. And then even when that trend goes down, you are agile enough to retain a very relevant position overall in blockchain. So they pivoted from the NFT craze to gaming, which gaming will always be a thing. I mean, the humanity has played since its beginning. So but still, if anything happens with NFT collectibles booming again, then there will be in a prime position as well. So I use that as an example for how to navigate this very fast market, and I'm telling you this from a perspective how you can ride this wave of innovation that is still happening, and I'm using these historical examples for you to understand all the possibilities and the opportunities that already were there, and to get a feeling for these opportunities that will arise in the future, so you can spot them and use them to your advantage. Maybe you identify like a company in a sector, and you work with them, you work for them, you invest in them. There's many ways to participate in blockchain still. I mean, blockchain is an old thing, as I've told, and there are still opportunities popping, and we see also in the governmental sector a lot of adoption. So already in 2016, Dubai implemented blockchain for border control, for
government services, and they're continuing their digitization of their services using blockchain, and this shows a very, very important fact, and that's if you have a lesser bureaucratic structure, then you can adopt faster to the technology. So in the Western world, and maybe Europe is the worst of this, for example, for land registry, like there's such an established bureaucratic system that it's almost impossible to change. And there's also the question, like, why would you change it? Well, you would change it because blockchain-based transactions are just that more efficient. But if you have so many people, if you have these systems that work for hundreds of years, it's a very hard transition. But countries with lesser structures, with smaller structures, especially in Africa, they have a big advantage now. So what was a disadvantage before, okay, the land registry, let's say it's unreliable, becomes an advantage because now you can implement blockchain and you can just get like the most reliable and transparent land registry that is better than what all the other countries have. And there are, for example, Kenya and Nigeria, they are exploring exactly this blockchain for land registry. It's like a prime application of blockchain from the get-go, and of course also for voting. I think many countries have looked into this. And we have also big blockchain companies, especially Cardano, working with governments, with Brazil, with Ethiopia, for government services, like issuing passports on blockchain. Digital identity is a big thing. So there's a lot happening under the hood in the last years, and of course these things move slow, but it's worth to keep an eye on. I also want to go into the topic of DePIN. So I don't know if you've heard about DePIN. It's short term for decentralized physical infrastructure, and DePIN mostly uses blockchain for immutability and for reliability. And DePIN, and it's basically achieving what blockchain did for financial markets, but for our whole digital life and infrastructure. So this call I'm thankfully having due to Zoom and their services. So this call is hosted from a server that is somewhere, probably in Turkey. I'm calling you from Switzerland. So all this infrastructure is belonging to a centralized provider, to Zoom, and they tell us, well, they don't eavesdrop, they don't own the data, but we have to rely on their trust. So with DePIN, it's possible to create a digital environment, digital infrastructure that would guarantee us by code that, for example, the data of this call is totally private, and no one is eavesdropping, and no storing of the data for later AI analysis, for profiling, for whatever. So I could know that all the knowledge that I'm giving to you is later not used by someone else without my participation, for example. And this applies to all the data we have online. Like, we all have this cloud storage. If we have a phone, we have emails, and those emails, they are laying somewhere, and we don't really know where they are. But what we know is that there's possibility for data compromisation, and we know this from our devices. That's why we use antivirus, but we don't really know what's happening with our cloud data. If we really want to live like a sovereign digital life, then this particular aspect of our lives becomes very, very important, and it's close. It's very much in the spirit of blockchain. It uses blockchain technology, and it's a very, very important application for the future. To stay sovereign, for like as a citizen, and not being victim of data theft. shift, because data is, some people say it's the new oil, because data is fueling AI, and we all know how disruptive AI already is. We are witnessing that, and the AI that runs, the better the data is. So the true value of AI lies in the data that we are giving away every day freely to corporations, and Deepen is the way out of that dilemma. So I invite you to very closely look what's happening with Deepen. For example, in 2014, a platform that's called Threefold started development, a decentralized cloud, and they are now working with the government of Tanzania and Zanzibar for sovereign governmental infrastructure. So that is very, very exciting, that countries are now really looking into, okay, how can we have our own secure data storage? And that's already a huge improvement, especially if you look to countries like Africa that largely rely on the infrastructure of other countries to maybe store like sensitive information that's sensitive to the government, that's sensitive to people, and that's not really advantageous in all scenarios that you could draw. So the awareness is rising, and this is a huge growing market for me, for sure, in the top 3 for the next years to come. So before I go to questions, I really want to round this off with an outlook of where I think this market will go in the next year. So we have three big trends. Of course, we have AI. I already mentioned that. We have blockchain, and we also have the spatial web, or VR, the metaverse, as you've heard it. So and we know that AI really makes the user experience very easy. So previously it was very difficult and cost intensive to develop user interfaces that are able to be adopted on a global scale. Now the user interface is a chatbot, and you can put any application behind that chatbot, and that includes blockchain wallets, blockchain-based interaction. So what was like very complicated, and many people, they don't dare really to touch wallets because they can make a mistake and then lose the transaction. You don't have your bank that you can call and then say, hey, like that transaction went to the wrong account, please send it back. No. You don't have to, and people are scared about that, or they lose their private key or something. The AI will solve all that. So blockchain and AI, it's like a match made in heaven for mass adoption. And also, as I've mentioned, the metaverse, this VR, this virtual world that is currently being created by billions of investment through the biggest tech players in the industry. We see Apple, we see Facebook there pioneering a lot, and we see a lot of startups and developments in that area. That world where we put on these glasses and are in the metaverse, it will be a world of digital value, because our value is in the end derived from experience. Like all money is spent in the end for experiences, for a feeling you have. If you can have this feeling in the virtual world, then you will pay for it. So and we've already seen that with the NFT craze. So there will be be prepared for massive virtual worlds with virtual goods and transactions, and people spending money in the real physical world to obtain assets in these digital realms. And their AI is another accelerator, because previously it was very difficult to create these virtual realms, very cost intensive, but now AI can do that for us. So I'm not saying the big steps come in the next years, but if you look at the time window for 10 to 20 years, like be prepared for a massive digital experience in the metaverse in VR that will be very, very inviting, and there will be a huge use for blockchain there. Blockchain will be one of the 3 core technologies that make this possible. But if you are building something, if you are interested to utilize blockchain for your project, or if you have ideas, try to develop something that comes to fruition within the next 5 years. You don't want to like push against, like, or basically be the first pioneer that draw the movement, that drag the movement. Let the big corporations do that. Go for something that is simple and easy. One of the biggest success in blockchain is Michael Saylor with the most stupid and simple thing. It's just through his company you can buy blockchain, buy Bitcoin as a stock and participate in the value appreciation of Bitcoin. And you don't have to touch like a Bitcoin exchange, a crypto exchange, or crypto wallets. So it's more convenient. That's it. And it's one of the most successful things. So simple solutions are still opportunity for simple solutions. Try to see where the trends go from what I've described, from this historic outlook of opportunities. I give another opportunity for questions. Anyone in the room? Anything that came up?
Okay. Yes, I guess there's someone who wants to ask any question. Yes. Sorry? Do we have? Var mı mikrofon? İngilizce konuşabiliyorsak için. Yes, we have one question, Mr. Reng.
You don't have a question?
Yes.
Can you repeat? I didn't understand you.
Hello, do you hear me? Do you? Hello?
Hello?
Before you are welcome to our university, our technology speech. I want to ask my question about blockchain safety. I heard you say we can everything implement blockchain. I'm right? Everything, you say passport or other technology, we can implement blockchain.
Yeah.
I want to ask this, how we know it's safe. Our data and personal information, how we know is keeping safety. Yeah, security. How is security? It's, I don't know how to say. We know our data everywhere at AI or other websites and other technologies, but we don't know our data's security or not, it's safe or.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you very much for that question. That is really valuable, because many people confuse that blockchain is open information. You know, everyone can see all the Bitcoin transactions, all the Ethereum transactions openly. And if someone knows my wallet address, they can see how many assets I have, right? So I understand that your concern comes from, if my passport is issued on a blockchain, right, my information is out there and there's no data privacy. So and that is not how this world will look. We will have like these technologies are built with something that's called zero knowledge proof, ZKP, and that is a technology that allows to validate information without looking into the information completely. So you can basically have your passport data that is laying somewhere encrypted. So it is encrypted in a decentralized cloud, like hopefully using this DPIN that I was talking about. And then you have, through zero knowledge proof technology, the ability to look into that encryption. Let's say you come to you travel to another country, and they wanna prove, they wanna get access to your information, right? So and then through zero knowledge proof, it is revealed to them whatever they are allowed to know about you, and whatever they need to know, but not more. So whatever data is there in this data storage that is about you, like not everything is revealed to everyone, and this technology is there. There's many possibilities how to achieve that nowadays. One of the startups I'm involved with, it's called Skipper, and we develop autonomous agents, and they are also programmable, and they allow to direct data streams in a private and sovereign way. So the data lays somewhere safe, but whoever needs to know something, you can program an AI to reveal just what is needed and not more. Does that answer your question?
Okay, it was our student who asked you the question, and it seems he is satisfied with your answer. Thank you. Are you? Are you satisfied with the answer? Right. Okay, so thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, Mr. Reng. We appreciate the time and effort that you put into your presentation. It was both informative and engaging for us. Thank you again for joining us, for being here. We are lucky to have you here today.
I felt very welcomed and look forward to visit you in person in Batman.
Oh, perfectly. We will be very happy to see you here. We hope. We are looking forward to see you here.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, bye-bye.